recording software for all kinds of situations, okay? So here are the general considerations I want you to think about. The thing is, when you think about the best podcast recording software for every situation, in other words, every scenario, every budget, every location, you want to think about what's important for you. Is it budget? Is it convenience? Is it your listener experience? Okay, those are really important elements to think about. And but before I get into the list itself, I want to really define what podcast recording software really is. I mean, there are a lot of like ambiguous terms in podcasting. Most notably, people who refer to the podcast episodes as podcasts. So it's really helpful to kick off with a bit of clarity. So podcast recording software comes in many forms, and most will do a bit more than simply record audio. Okay, so you have three main types of podcast recording software. So you have the DAW, so the digital audio workstation. You have the call recorder tool, and you have the podcast maker tool. Okay, now digital audio workstations actually are sophisticated programs. With the DAW, you can not only record video, but you can also do all of your editing and production inside them. And this can be as simple as a single voice pattern, or like a single voice program with some intro music, or it can be as complex as a cinematic soundscape audio drama. It really depends on you. And then, so besides the DAW, you also have the call recorder tool. And so most podcast interviews happen remotely. So this gives podcasters a certain freedom to bring on interesting guests from anywhere in the world. And call recording tools do exactly what they say on the tin. A few of them even offer a live broadcast and production features. And typically users run them with web browsers, though some do offer dedicated desktop apps. So this is kind of cool. If you're looking for a call recorder tool, maybe you're looking for flexibility and you're looking for a freedom too in your podcasting journey. So what about the podcast maker tool? Now, podcast maker tools tend to fall somewhere between the two types that I just listed a little earlier. They'll let you record your episodes, then provide a range of simplified options for editing, producing, and publishing them. So that's kind of cool in terms of, again, giving the freedom back to you because you are the podcaster. Important element. Let me talk to you about the rankings here. So when I talk about the best podcast recording software options, I want to first talk to you about Adobe Audition. Adobe Audition is like a bigger and better version of the popular free DAW Audacity. And so with Audition, there are many more options, and you'll have much more flexibility and tools at your disposal. And the thing is that on the flip side, there are certain things you need to really understand. These extras raise the barrier to entry too. So in terms of pricing, you're looking at $19 to $25 a month. You are able to do editing and production. There is no transcription. There is no hosting. There is no video recording. Okay, and the learning curve here is kind of steep. Next, you have Alitu. So Alitu actually is a great podcast recording software for every scenario. So this is kind of cool. And so the cool thing is that you are able to get things done a lot faster. Unlike Adobe Audition, Alitu is a lot easier to use, but Alitu is also more expensive. I mean, Adobe Audition will actually set you back $19 to $25 a month. Alitu will set you back anywhere from $35 to $45 a month. Okay, but hey, listen. But Alitu has more features, more functionalities, and the UX and UI have been improved big time in Alitu versus Adobe Audition. So the user experience is good. The user interface is really good also. And the cool thing is you can record your podcast with Alitu, whether a local or a solo recording or even an online call. And you can publish your episodes from within Alitu and push them out to Apple Podcast, Spotify, and also in some cases Google Podcast. Okay, and also, by the way, other podcast listening apps. And Alitu will automatically transcribe your episodes, something that Adobe Audition can do, or doesn't do it as of now. And you can even edit your audio by deleting chunks of text too. So that's kind of cool. In terms of flexibility, it's just really fantastic. So when you think about Alitu, think about a podcast maker tool. The price, as I said a little earlier, maximum $45 to $55 a month. There is actually editing and production included, including text-based editing. There is transcription. There is hosting. There is no video recording though. And the learning curve, there's not really a process with Alatu. Pretty simple, pretty simple platform in our view. Next, I want you to think about Audacity. So when you think about the best podcast recording software for every scenario, I want you to think about Audacity. Audacity is a popular and free open source DAW. So DAW, so you have to think about the capability here. So let's say if you are running a solo show or recording a guest or co-host locally, then Audacity has everything you need. On the flip side, two common criticism of Audacity are that really it looks a bit clunky and can seem complicated to beginners. Okay, when you think about the Alatu, that's very user friendly. Audacity is not. I mean, it's not because listen, what I think is that Audacity hasn't been worked on in many years. I mean, the price tag is free. Okay, this is you have a free. There's no price actually. So if there's no money coming in, the developers don't have any incentive to actually improve the tool. Okay, so that's really what it is. So if you are on a tight budget or you have non-existent budget, you might want to consider Audacity. So you can do editing and production. There is no transcription capability, no hosting, no video recording, and you have a moderate learning curve to think about. Next, you also have to think about Cast. And Cast actually lets you record yourself and up to 3 guests. And there are editing and production options available. So that's kind of cool in terms of flexibility. And it also doubles up as a media host. So you can upload and publish your episodes too. Google Chrome is actually the recommended browser for recording on Cast. Okay, not Safari or not like Mozilla. No. Google Chrome. Okay. So when you think about Cast, think about a podcast maker tool. By the way, we have actually reviewed. We have reviewed podcasts. I mean, we have reviewed Cast on all the shows. In terms of pricing, you have an affordably priced sort of tool because the price starts from $10 a month. You can do editing and production, transcription, no transcription. Yes, with hosting, and there is no video recording capabilities. But listen, it's so good anyway. Okay, but when you think about Cast, think about a very simple learning curve. I mean, Cast is as simple as Alatu is when it comes to UX and UI. So that's really fantastic. Now, of course, Alatu is a little more advanced. It's a little advanced than Cast and more expensive, by the way, also. But this is what it is. And so in terms of the best podcast recording software for every scenario, Adobe Audition, Alatu, Audacity, Cast, and next, let me share with you other tools. You also have Descript, okay? Descript is actually an innovative platform for creating and editing podcasts. It's actually most famous for its overdub feature, which really uses AI to learn your voice, and you can actually tap out lines or entire scripts and have your own voice read them. So that's kind of cool. And Descript is not a call recorder, but it now owns Squadcast, and you can link the two together. So that's kind of cool in terms of flexibility, but also scalability. Fantastic. So when you think about Descript, think about a podcast maker tool. It's not a DAW, it's a podcast maker tool. You can get started for free. You have editing and production. You have transcription. That's really fantastic. You have hosting too, and hosting in some pricing tiers. So you also have video recording, and in terms of learning curve, really simple. Then you also have Hindenburg, and Hindenburg actually is a unique DAW because it's actually designed for journalists and podcasters, okay, radio people and audiobook producers in mind, okay. And most other DAWs are primarily for music production, but just so happen to lend themselves well to spoken word content. And Hindenburg is definitely the DAW with the lowest barrier to entry for folks new to audio production. So this is kind of cool. I mean, by the way, again, I did an entire show on Hindenburg Journalist to really tell you the pros and cons, the functionalities, the modules to really think about this year when you consider Hindenburg Journalist. And the tool also has Hindenburg Pro. Okay, so there are many layers, when it comes to a Hindenburg. So that's kind of cool. So when you think about Hindenburg, think about a DAW, okay? So a digital audio workstation. And so price starts at about $12 to $15 a month and can go all the way to $50 a month, depending on your needs. You have editing and production, including text-based editing. You have transcription. There is no hosting with Hindenburg. You have no hosting. There is no video recording, okay? And in terms of learning curve, expect a moderate learning curve when you contemplate using actually Hindenburg. If you're looking for the best podcast recording software for every scenario, I want you to think about Podbean Livestream. And what I love about Podbean Livestream is the flexibility, is the freedom, is the autonomy that this tool gives you when it comes to connecting with your audience. Okay, you can run Podbean Livestream on desktop, Chrome, or mobile. Use Podbean app for Android, iOS. It'll let you host up to 5 active co-hosts and guests at any one time. So that's kind of cool in terms of if you have those interview podcast or even documentary podcast, you will love the flexibility that Podbean Livestream is actually giving you. Your audience can tune in and listen along live, as well as call into your show to participate. Conversations will be recorded onto one single track, and you can play music and audio effects during your show. And once it's actually finished, you can upload and publish directly to Podbean. So you have an all-in-one service. Think about it. Podbean actually is kind of your all-in-one service. Okay, that's kind of cool. And so when you think about Podbean, think about a call recorder. It's not a podcast maker tool, really. It's a call recorder. You can get started for free, but there is no editing and production possible. There is no transcription. There is, of course, hosting with Podbean. You also have the ability to learn real fast because the learning curve is moderate, but there's no video recording. Then you also have a Podcastle. So if you're thinking about Podcastle, think about the flexibility. Here you have an all-in-one content creation platform that allows you to do a lot of things. You can actually, for example, you can record high-quality audio, video with a minimal skill set. Podcastle boasts an intuitive interface, and with a range of AI-powered tools at your disposal, creating a publication-ready show is actually even easier these days. You can record with up to 10 guests, transcribe your episodes, and create audio from text. So that's kind of cool. So you have the transcription capability. And so with Podcastle's Revoice feature, you can create a digital copy of your voice and generate audio that sounds just like you. The software is available both on the web and iPhone, allowing for greater flexibility. So we love that aspect of things a lot. So think of Podcastle as a podcast maker tool. You can get started for free. You have editing and production, transcription, hosting, video recording, and you have a simple learning curve. Fantastic. Next, you have a Ring podcast recording software. So Ringr is actually an app that lets you record calls on your mobile or desktop. You can record yourself and 4 guests on the $19 a month feature. Let's say the premium package, okay? And Ringr actually recommends that participants use Google Chrome or Firefox. And so this is kind of cool. So think of Ringr as a call recorder. And you have to pay somewhere from 15 to $25 a month. You can't do editing and production with Ringr. You cannot do transcription. You cannot do hosting. You cannot do recording, video recording. So this is like a call recording. It's a call recorder. Okay. There's no video recording, by the way. And the learning curve is kind of simple. You also have a Riverside FM. So Riverside is actually a top quality piece of call recording software with a lot of flexibility. And I mean a lot of flexibility. So what happens here is that on Riverside, you can record up to 8 people on individual tracks, and the platform will actually record video as well as audio. You can also run live streams on Twitter, now called X, YouTube, or Facebook Live, as well as accept live call-ins from listeners. That's kind of cool in terms of flexibility. Fantastic. And Riverside actually has a mobile app for iOS and Android too. So that's kind of cool in terms of flexibility. Once again, you will love that. So when you think about Riverside, think about a call recorder primarily. This is not a podcast maker tool. This is not a DAW. This is a call recorder. And Riverside charges you anywhere from $9 to $15 a month. So you can do editing and production. That's for sure. You have basic editing, including text-based editing. That's really good. Don't think of Riverside as something more like don't expect anything sophisticated in terms of editing and production. No, Riverside gives you something really basic, but nothing really convoluted, really. And one thing I want to say is that if you're considering Riverside for a transcription, not a problem. You can go with them. That's really fine. And you cannot have hosting through Riverside. Unfortunately, that's what it is. And but you can do a video recording. That's really fantastic. So you have the possibility there to do things the way you want it. And the learning curve with Riverside is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Okay, there's no steep learning curve here. So you have a lot of possibility in terms of getting things done a lot faster. So this is something to really think about, especially if you are, let's say, you are on a budget, okay, and you are trying to get things done a lot faster. That at least you have some kind of flexibility. That's really fantastic. If you are thinking about the best podcast recording software for every scenario, I want you to think about Spotify for podcasters. And I mean, this used to be called Anchor, okay? And so Spotify for podcasters, actually, it's really cool because even though the branding has changed, is nothing different from what it was before. So Spotify for podcasters offers call recording, basic editing, and hosting options, all for free. It can be used with up to 5 remote guests who can join via mobile, Spotify for Podcasters app, or a desktop. So that's really good. And conversations are recorded onto one single track with time limits of 2 hours on the app, 30 minutes in Chrome, and 5 minutes in Safari. So when you think about this app or this tool, think about a podcast maker tool. It's free. You have basic editing and production. There is transcription, though limited. You have hosting, and there's no video recording. The learning curve is kind of simple. And you also have Spreaker Studio. So Spreaker Studio comes as either a desktop or mobile app and works similarly to an online radio station. You have the option to go live and interact with your listeners in real time through its chat function. And conversations will be recorded onto one single track. So that's kind of cool. And so being a media host, you can upload and publish directly to Spreaker too. And you can start for free, so that's really good. But some features will be limited. So paid tiers offer more options and start from $20 a month. So when you think about Spreaker, I want you to think about a podcast maker tool. You can get started for free, and that's kind of cool. And of course, there is editing and production. So basic top and tail. There's no transcription. There is hosting. There is no video recording. And in terms of learning curve, I want you to consider something a little more moderate. Nothing really complicated, but like moderate learning curve to really expect. So that's kind of important to think about. Next, you have Squadcast. So if you're thinking about the best podcast recording software for every scenario, think about Squadcast. So with Squadcast, you can record yourself and up to 9 guests on individual tracks in audio and video form. It's one of the best recording tools on the market and comes with some cool AI features like overdub, filler word removal, AI green screen, and AI eye contact. So think of Squadcast as a call recorder. And in terms of price, you have limited free tier or $15 to $25 per month. And so in terms of editing and production, this is kind of cool because Squadcast integrates with the script. Okay, there's no transcription, there's no hosting. There is video recording. Yeah, that's good. You also have a learning curve to really account for. You also have Zencastr. So Zencastr is actually one of the original online multi-track recorder options on the market. And so Zencastr allows for 5 guests and 1 host. There is actually an auto post-production option. They'll actually mix this all together and level them up afterwards. So that's kind of cool. And you can generate transcriptions with Zencaster and publish directly to the platform too. So that's kind of cool. So think of Zencaster as a call recorder, and price is around $20 per month, 20 to $25 per month. And you do have in terms of editing and production, you have basic post production. There is transcription possible. There is hosting. There is video recording. So, and the learning curve is kind of small. Then you also have Zoom. Zoom actually is the go-to video chat option for millions of people around the world. It can be used as podcast recording software. You can capture remote conversations in both audio and video form. The overall quality, though, will struggle to the quality of audio or video will struggle to actually compete with the other options that I just shared with you in today's conversation. But for many, the fact that so many people are familiar with Zoom makes it their ideal option. So with their free tier, your calls will be limited to 40 minutes. And so think of Zoom as a call recorder. You have limited free tier or about 13 to 15 bucks per month. And there's no editing and production. There is transcription. There is no hosting. There is a video recording capability, and the learning curve is kind of simple. Okay. So overall, as a summary, when you think about the best podcast recording software for you, you gotta really ask yourself, what are your goals? What are your needs? Those will be very important in terms of helping you choose whether you go with Adobe Audition, Alitu, Audacity, Cast, or all the other players. It depends on what you're looking for, and also your budget, because some are free and some are, some are charging something. So you got to really ask yourself what you're after. That's an important element to think about. So what's the bottom line here? In today's conversation, I shared with you the best podcast recording software for every scenario. I give you the general considerations, the rankings, the summary, and now the bottom line. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.